Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Jackson Show. I'm your host, Jackson Solomon. And today, I'm going to be going over some updates in both the college football and NFL world, plus my weekend predictions. We also got two guys to give me their predictions for this week's show. So a special thank you to them. But before we get into that, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And let's jump straight into it. So we start with the news, which is we'll start with college football, the NCAA removing the spring transfer window. So players can transfer between the after season ends portion and then the beginning of the season portion of the season. So they cannot transfer during the spring period. You can't transfer during the spring period or the, what is it? Or anytime before then, you can transfer after your season's over, and between then and the start of spring workouts or something like that is when the portal closes. I remember I talked about it on this podcast, how the NCAA was deciding if they should have only one time period for the portal, and this works out perfectly, and it just makes the most sense where now you can only transfer once and you don't have players coming in or out of the portal, especially during those spring workouts, especially during that time, which is when it's the most confusing. So props out to the NCAA for that. Very nice job in that in work. Okay, so Lenore Sellers left the South Carolina Vanderbilt game last week, which was the upset of the week game, in case you listened to Wednesday's show. He is questionable for tomorrow's game versus Missouri. This impacts South Carolina's offense. I think the defense should be okay. If Lenore Sellers played in that game versus Vanderbilt, they probably would have still been in it. But they weren't in it, and I think that's why, because Lenore Sellers wasn't in the game. So if Lenore Sellers plays versus Vandy, they're still in the game. This affects the game plan for South Carolina, in my opinion, and it really affects the outcome of the game because Missouri's a really good football team, and they're a team that looking to beat South Carolina. So you don't want to allow them to do that. Okay. Also, with Colorado, Caden Salter is back as the quarterback one, which I'm just going to be honest is a little weird because I love Coach Prime. I love Colorado. But I'm just going to be honest here. Why was he not the starter to begin with? He got benched and you played the backup quarterback, Julian Lewis, and then went to Ryan Staub. And Staub played decent versus Houston, but now we're back in the non-conference schedule, and we got Caden Salter starting. My question is, if you were going to bench him for Ryan Staub, why is, did he get hurt or something? I'm confused about this. Why was he benched? Because I didn't see that he got injured. I didn't see that anywhere. So we bench Caden Salter for Ryan Staub, which, okay. Right? It's good to have a good change of pace, right? But it's kind of pointless because you're 1-2 and you started a quarterback that wasn't your starting quarterback. So I think the question that I'm asking is, why did you bench him? Why was he benched? It's confusing to me. I just don't get it. Maybe as a coach of the football team, he saw something in Caden Salters he didn't like, but this is it's so confusing. I don't understand it. Because it's we're going to move on from Caden Salter, start Ryan Staub, which didn't make sense in the first place, but okay, I understand you're trying to understand who your quarterback is going to be. But it was a conference game. Staub played somewhat decent in that game, and now we're going back to Salter. If I'm missing something here, please tell me. I don't know. I feel like I'm not missing something, but I don't know. Okay. And the last thing, John Mateer and Carson Beck are Heisman favorites. I'm picking Mateer, but I'm biased. I think Oklahoma is one of the best teams in the country and could be a dark horse for the SEC championship. So I'm biased. But Carson Beck played really good throughout his first 3 games as well. There's another big-time test this week as they take on Florida. So that's going to be the biggest question mark for Carson Beck and Miami. All right, moving on to the NFL. We're going to start with the Commanders. They are moving back to D.C. in 2030. I also saw that Jane Daniels is ruled out Sunday versus the Raiders. So I'm going to just be very brief. First things first. I did not know that the Commanders did not play in D.C. Kind of surprised by that. I thought FedEx Field was in D.C. So call me casual if you want. I don't really care much. And also, the Raiders are winning Sunday. Jane Daniels, Jane Daniels isn't playing. It is the Mariota revenge game, although it's kind of self-inflicted because you chose to go to the Raiders, so it's not really revenge because they didn't choose to re-sign you. But you get my point. Marcus Mariota facing his former team, the Raiders, in this week's game. I'm not going to predict a winner, but I like the Raiders in that one. Brock Purdy can return this week versus the Cardinals, according to head coach Kyle Shanahan. A good chance. Good chance that 49ers beat the Cardinals this week. Battle of 2 undefeated teams. We get another one coming up in our predictions segment. Okay, so the Chargers came out and said Khalil Mack does not have a season-ending injury. He's just, it's cautionary, which is good because you play the Broncos this week. That's your big-time test. So I'm not nervous or anything or scared because we don't have Khalil Mack, but big part of who the Chargers defense is, and honestly, one of my favorite defensive players on the Chargers. So, he's a must-have. I don't know how long he's actually out for, but he is going to play again this year. All right. Also, the Bengals say that Joe Burrow could potentially return at the end of the season. It came out that he would be gone for 3 months. So let's count. It's September now, October, November, December. But yeah, the question is, will you be in it in January / early February? That's the only question I have. And it's tricky because the Bengals, that's a tough one. But Jake Browning, he did an excellent job this Sunday. I believe that he can do it again. So there's a good chance that Burrow will be back. Will he earn his job back? Or is Jake Browning going to be the guy that they lead into the playoffs? Because if he can get them to 10-5 at a certain point and Burrow's back, do you go back to Burrow or do you let Browning finish out the regular season, have Burrow come back for the playoffs? Something like that. I wouldn't bench Joe Burrow in the postseason. Okay, we're going to move on to predictions. So my special shout-outs are going to go to Mr. Brody Gross. We had him do predictions last week. I didn't record last Friday. I didn't have enough time to get an episode out, and by the time I did have the time, the games were already on, so it was too late for it. But I did mention on Tuesday's show that he told me about 2 games, the Georgia Tech game, which turned out to be an upset, and also there was one other game he told me about. I believe, can't remember what it was. It was an upset game too. But it was a good game. So shout out to Brody Gross. I asked him if he would like to do it again because they didn't record last week. He said it was fine. So I got his predictions as well as my buddy Jamin from Illinois. So shout out Jamin. I appreciate you. Sorry for the rush. So we're going to start off with the college football games, starting with the game of the week, which I have listed down as Texas Tech versus Oklahoma. 12 o'clock, big noon Saturday on Fox. Utah is favored by 4. This is going to be an on-the-road game, West Coast game. Actually, I have written down here that I'm taking Texas Tech, but I changed my mind. I'm going Utah. West Coast game. Texas, I don't think they're going to be very familiar with the time zone. I also don't think Utah is going to have very much fun playing at 9 a.m., which is the start time for the game in Utah or any time in the West Coast. So I definitely think that, I don't know much about these two teams. I know, the offense for Texas Tech is really good. And Utah's offense is also really good. It's about whose defense is better. And really, I'm going to pick Utah because I think their defense is better. And also because of the time zone traveling out west. Mr. Gross is also taking Utah. This was one of those games where I didn't get his prediction, but I wish I did. Auburn takes on Oklahoma. Oklahoma's a 7-point favorite. 3:30 on the ABC. It's going to be a good game. Jackson Arnold revenge game. He did lead Oklahoma to a couple of wins last year at the end of the season. I'm going to take Oklahoma, though. Yes, I am going to take Oklahoma to win the game. Like I said, dark horse. I believe that, when I was picking this game in the offseason for the standings and stuff, I never imagined that Auburn would be this good. And so, honestly, it's really, you still have to prove yourself. So I'm going to take Oklahoma. Okay, Michigan, the 21st ranked team in the country now, 1.5-point favorites going to Nebraska. This is the Big Ten on CBS 3:30 afternoon game. I'm going to take Michigan. I don't know if it's going to be way closer than just 2 points. But I like what I saw last week from Michigan. I watched basically the entirety of the Michigan game up to the 2-minute mark. It was anywhere between 5 to 2 minutes where they put in the backup quarterback, and I just tuned out and I changed the channel, went outside and did other stuff. So, But I really like what I saw from Michigan last week, which was Bryce Underwood was using his legs. The defense looked dominant. And honestly, Nebraska, to me, the question mark is how good is this team really? Is this team really good? I don't know how good Nebraska is. So I'm gonna take Michigan. I got Mr. Gross' prediction for this game. He is also taking Michigan. Tulane travels to Ole Miss. Maybe an upset here. I certainly think so. Give me the mean green. Last year, and this is an interesting question. Last year, the group of 5 team that made the playoff, Boise State, they had a loss last year. It was at Oregon. Tulane, I think, could be the first undefeated group of 5 school to make the playoff. They just have to get through the conference schedule. They have to beat Ole Miss this weekend. So, yes, I do believe in the mean green wave of Tulane. I like Tulane. I think that I believe that they are going to win. Yeah, that's I kind of lost my train of thought there, but yes, Tulane. I'm gonna take the mean green. Brody, Mr. Gross, is gonna take Ole Miss, the Rebels. We're gonna find out this Saturday. That's 3:30 ESPN. I for some reason don't have the odds of the game. But yes, all right. Florida travels to Miami, 7.5. Question mark? Number 4 team in the country is a touchdown and more. That's how much they're favored by. I didn't get Brody's predictions on the rest of these games, but it's just 2 more, so it's fine. I'm going to take I'm going to take Miami, and I'm going to take I just think that Miami right now, they're a good team. I don't really know Miami's receiver core, but I know that they're really good. And the defense is also really good, much better than they were last year. So I'm going to take Miami. Florida right now, 3 losses. You're kind of sitting on the edge of will they make the playoff? Will they not? I think the loss to USF really hurt them in that area specifically. So it's kind of rough for Florida this year. And people are still asking, does Billy Napier get fired? I think no, because you still have DJ Lagway, and you don't want to bring in a new head coach with your quarterback. So if you were going to do it, you should have done it last year, where DJ Lagway is going to become a better quarterback, but he saved his season winning like 5 out of his last 6, something crazy like that. And then the last game, Big Ten Saturday night, Illinois versus Indiana. Illinois. I have Illinois. So for some reason, they're touchdown underdogs at Indiana under the lights. We're going to find out about both these teams Saturday night. I'm going to be watching that game Saturday night. That is all of my attention. I'm not interested in Florida Miami. That game is all of my attention. I'm going Illinois for sure. Right? Sunday in the NFL. Okay, Bengals travel to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. This is where we get Jamin's predictions in here. I only had Mr. Bugs get a select few. He picked a little bit of both, which is why we had him for college and now NFL. Okay, Bengals, Vikings. We got 3 predictions for this one. News has come out. It came out on Monday, which is so weird, but J.J. McCarthy's out with a high ankle sprain. So it's going to be Carson Wentz versus Jake Browning throwing the ball. Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, you got beef here. 2 teams. I think Jake Browning, although Carson Wentz is a more experienced quarterback, I believe Jake Browning is going to win this game for the Bengals. The question is defense, really. But the Vikings doesn't look very good either. Or it doesn't look as good as it did last year. I'm taking the Bengals in this game. Mr. Gross is taking the Vikings. Jamin is also taking the Bengals with me. Okay, game of the week is Rams versus Eagles. Eagles favored by 4 at home in the 1 o'clock Fox window. I am going with the Rams. 3-0, I think, for the defending Super Bowl champs is a little bit of a stretch. I don't think that they're going to be good enough to get to 3-0. I think the Rams, though, they're good enough to get to 3-0, and then they'll, drop a game next week or something. I believe they play the 49ers or something. I don't have the schedule right in front of me. But, yes, Rams-Eagles, game of the week. I think that the Rams will drop it. I think the Eagles will drop it, so I'm taking the Rams. Mr. Gross and Jamin both take the Eagles. Okay, Jets, Bucks. Justin Fields is not playing. And that is the only thing that we need to know. Buccaneers are favored by only a touchdown, which I think is surprising. But the Bucks, they started 2-0 last year. They started 2-0 the year before that. They didn't go 3-0. But I don't care. I mean, the Jets don't have Justin Fields. So I'm taking the Bucks. I'd be shocked. That's upset of the week right there. That's upset of the week territory right there. If the Jets shock the Bucks. I'm taking the Bucks. BG's taking the Bucks. Jamin's also taking the Bucks. Okay, Texans versus Jags. Jags are favored by 2. I'm going to take the Texans here. Texans right now, I think offensively, this is where the week 3 game where they're just going to start getting things going. Things is going to start clicking. CJ Stroud's going to start clicking with his receivers. The offensive line's going to become better. This is a divisional game. You can't lose it. So I'm going to take the Texans. I didn't get Brody's prediction for this game, but Jamin is also, Jamin's taking the Jaguars in this game. Sunday Night Football is Chiefs versus Giants. Chiefs are favored by a touchdown. I'm going to go with the Chiefs. I picked the Chiefs the first 2 weeks of the season, and they lost. The Chiefs, last time they went 0-3 was 2011, and they didn't make the playoffs. They won't do that again. This will be a much closer game than the 7 that the Chiefs are expected to beat the Giants by. So I'm not taking the Giants, or I'm not taking the Chiefs by 7. All right. I'm taking the Chiefs. Jamin's also taking the Chiefs. I would have had this be game of the week, but it's not. It's not game of the week. It's is Monday Night Football. Lions traveling to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. Ravens favored by 5. This is this is Monday Night Football. I'm going to take the Ravens. Lions don't play well on the road, especially at Baltimore. And I think that it's going to be more competitive and closer to the Green Bay game, but just not, they just won't get the win. And so it's going to be a sour and pretty bad feeling when you come back to Detroit the next week. But we'll find out if you're going to win that one. But I'm rooting for the Lions still, so don't count them out. Mr. Bugs is taking the Ravens, and Jamin's taking the Lions. All right, this is not a typical show. This is not as long as the shows typically plan to be. Usually my shows are an hour or somewhere close to there, but I had to rush and I had to hurry up, so I hope you enjoy this shorter version of the Jackson Show. I enjoyed making it. I hope you enjoy it. Don't forget to tune into the next episode of the Jackson Show, and as always, bring a friend.